It's a bird. It's a plane. No, it's episode 34 of Lesbian Talk. Dun, 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 dun.
At least it's not episode Rule 34.
Which is Rule 34 again?
It's either if it exists, there's porn of it on the internet, or it's everyone switches genders, but I can't remember now. Episode 34.
I think it's the porn one, actually.
You think it is? Well, I've seen stuff like, oh, Rule 34 link and stuff like that, so I'm not sure. Guys, if you know, write the show.
That might be Rule 63. But our word from last week was a very wordly word, full of wordiness that, at the time was like, ooh, that's very fascinating indeed. I wonder what we'll talk about when it comes to that next week, because I was like...
Surely you'll think of something in a week.
Yeah. But then, of course, a week happened, and I hang out, and I managed to watch yet more films, and I try not to commit suicide, and I do a little bit of filming and stuff like that, and then before you know it, bam! We're back to Lesbian Talk.
Also kittens.
Yes. And this time, without even the protection of SF debris here, so we got to think of a...
SF debris was protecting your kittens?
Yeah.
How?
Yeah. It was greatly difficult. So we got to think about some way to talk about pottery.
Well, I've taken pottery classes when I was a kid. I would make little things and dragons and stuff, and once I made a little hobbit and a little hobbit hole kind of thing. It was like a base, like I had a mat, and then I basically implied a wall by taking another slab and like kind of half wrapping it around. And so I had a little hobbit hole that I made, and I baked in the kiln at the Community Arts Center. Are you impressed?
I'm terrified.
You know, pregnant pauses I usually cut down, just to let you know.
Oh, see, I try to be dramatic. This will teach me to never listen to Lesbian Talk. Yeah, guys, because if you only come across me in these podcasts, I occasionally just throw severe pauses in there to try and do something to do with emphasis. It's not always just because I've forgotten what to say or whatever. Sometimes it's deliberate.
I leave them in, but I cut them down. Like, I make you sound really succinct, and because a lot of the editing, this is like a little behind the scenes. A lot of the editing of Lesbian Talk is basically me listening to it, zeroing in on the waveform, cutting down her pauses, cutting out. Yeah, but and I cut them all out. And everything sounds nice and succinct.
I'm sure there was a time in my life when I could speak clearly and without those problems.
Me too. Before I was in high school, I didn't say like. And I picked it up in high school, and now I'll fall back on that a lot, and I'm afraid that when I go over to the UK, I will sound like a stupid American because of my automatic overuse of like. I also say things and stuff, but things and stuff is just cute and endearing. Like, not so much.
I think you'll be fine. But, on to pottery.
Pottery.
Pottery. I went to university in Stafford, which, if I was gonna do my incredibly bad fake American accent, I would refer to as Stayford.
No, because why would you pronounce it that way?
I don't know. Whenever I was there, I thought if there was going to be a ludicrous American with a ridiculous accent, that's how it should be pronounced by them.
Well, no, because there's no Y or E, or there's no other vowel that would contribute to the long A.
From the point of view of people from the UK, honey, it just seems that Americans take the perfectly rational sort of English words and then sort of pronounce them in really mangled and weird ways. I'm sure it's exactly the same from your POV on us.
No, because, see, here's the thing. There's an oatmeal comic out there, and I'm not going to use it because he hates when you use his stuff. But Google it, because I'm not going to use it as an image, of how Brits sound to American. And there's this guy sitting like, oh, old bean, I'm so tough that you... All these, like, really kind of Monty Python-esque sounding posh British words. But then how Americans sound to the British. And there's a guy in nothing but American flag underwear, hanging off an eagle, being like, yeah, fuck, motherfucker, dicks and burgers, woo, football. And so when you guys talk, you sound all like erudite and educated, even if you're not. When we talk, we're just like, yeah, boy.
Yeah, but what about words like, you guys take the wonderful word, borough, and then changed it to burrow, or bureau, or something like that?
Not bureau. A bureau
borough?
is like a book of, like the Bureau of Investigation, or like a bureau, like, of drawers.
The borough, or something like that. Yeah, it's like, you guys have taken the pronunciation and completely mangled it, and it's just weird to us. So I figure that whenever you hear, for instance, in MSNBC, there's the presenter Joe Scarborough. But in England, there is a city called Scarborough, which is written the exact same way. And it's just the differences of pronunciation in the different countries. So an American comes over here and they're like, hey, look, that country city is called Scarborough. And then everyone's like, it's called Scarborough. And they're like, what the fuck? Oh no, people are just pronouncing things weirdly. And then he runs into a wall.
Do you have YouTube footage of this? Because I don't believe you.
I could probably invent it if necessary. But I'm just saying, I went to university in Stafford, which is down the road from Stoke-on-Trent. Stoke-on-Trent, which is... This is another complete side tangent, but Stoke is a term in Derry. It means...
Masturbation.
To be cheap and probably thieving and useless. So that's what the term Stoke in Derry means. Now, I went there to Stoke-on-Trent, and I was like, this is a reference to Stoke-on-Trent, and I pointed, that this is what the meaning of the word is over there, and everyone in Stoke-on-Trent who I came across, who was not terribly nationalistic about the city, agreed that it was a very apt insult. However, it was not actually connected to the city of Stoke-on-Trent. It was an insult to a local family whose surname was Stoke. But Stoke-on-Trent is also the home of the British pottery industry, so much so that they're obsessed with pottery stuff. It's the home of Josiah Wedgwood from Wedgwood Potteries.
I've heard of him.
They have one section of their city is called the Potteries. It's like if you're in Philadelphia, every third thing is named Liberty or Freedom or something to do with independence. It's
only a bit.
But over in Stoke-on-Trent, everything that they couldn't think of another name for, they just stuck the word pottery into it. They even have like pottery museums and stuff. So that's my connection with pottery. I went to university 20 miles down the road from a place that's famous for it.
That's interesting, but that happened to be the most boring kind of interesting.
Oh, thank you. I'm going to take it to Stoke-on-Trent one of these days. It has one of my favourite takeaways in the entire UK.
Famous for our pottery and takeaways.
The University Pizzeria by Staffordshire University.
Is it good?
Oh, yeah. I had, like, an entire fish that was cooked in curry. It's not like curry sauce, it was just curried fish.
That doesn't sound appetizing to me.
It was good to me, but they did good pizza as well.
See, that's how you can tell our priorities. We'll go all the way across the world. Oh, I need you to eat at this pizza place. It's really good. You'll really like it.
Well, on the other hand, Stoke-on-Trent is about 20 minutes by car or about an hour by bus from Alton Towers, my favorite theme park in the world.
Yeah, you keep mentioning that, and I'm really concerned that I'm going to have to go there eventually.
Oh, you are?
Because you're going to make me go on all the rides that I don't want to go on. And there you go.
I won't make you go on all of them. As long as I get someone else who will accompany me on the roller coasters, we'll be fine.
I thought we were going to bring your friend from London.
Oh yeah, try to bring Charlie as well. Yeah, definitely. We need Charlie, and he's the guy who is disabled, so we can get in for cheaper and get in the back of rides.
No, that is not appropriate.
No, that's entirely appropriate. We'd be his carers.
But that's dishonest.
No, it isn't. It's their rule on disabled people.
No, but there was a rule like that at Disney, and what disabled people were doing to make money is they were hiring themselves out to like a special tour company, and like the people who wanted to pay a whole bunch extra have them be quote unquote in their family for the day. Use that as a way to get to the front. And this one mom was blogging about how her kids are too good to wait, only the best for her family. Well, somebody it went viral. And Disney actually they're in the process of completely revamping how they deal with disabled customers.
Yeah, are you suggesting that I'm hiring my friend Charlie? But me and Charlie going to Alton Towers is a tradition that we have because we really enjoy our company. We both enjoy each other's company. We both love going to Alton Towers. We both love going on the rides. We love hanging out. We have little traditions we do whenever we're there. And just the fact that he's disabled makes it even better.
Yes, I know, but I don't feel comfortable. You guys can go to the front of the line if you want. I'm able-bodied. I'll wait my turn.
No, that rule is you can have up to 3 people.
I don't care what their rule is. I'm telling you how I feel about it.
Well, maybe you'll feel better whenever the microphone's not on and you're not being recorded for a podcast.
No, I still feel that way. I feel very highly uncomfortable.
Honey, he has to walk with a stick, and he could easily fall over, and I wouldn't be able to carry him. So you'd have to help.
Oh my god. You guys, this is terrible. This is an ethical problem I'll have to work out later.
This is not an ethical problem. This is the fact that my beloved friend Charlie would require our help to get around the theme park.
We'll talk about it later, dear. Off of the podcast. What are you giggling for?
I think that was a rather funny little exchange.
This is what it's like, real life, in Hagen and Omega. Well, I'm trying to, make our podcast interesting. Like I said, I feel that I survived the blip goal, so I want to make it worth everyone's while to listen to our show. So if you like our show, totally tell Blip that you like it.
Do you have any other connections to like pottery, no matter how boring?
When I think of pottery, three things come up. One is the classes that I took. I still like to do that. I still like to use, Fimo clay and stuff like that, because quite obviously I don't have my own kiln for firing, but if, unfortunately I don't live in Delaware County, so I can't take classes for cheap at the Community Arts Center anymore, because you can use their kiln for free. But, so I think of that. I think of being somewhere, and I can't remember where, but it must have been on vacation, and just looking at endless rooms full of what I thought was basically the same pottery, because my parents were at some place. I think I might have been on vacation, and they were going to buy some pottery. And this was just the most boring thing in my life. It was a gray day outside, and there was nothing distinctive about the rooms that we were in. It was all like white walls and white floors, and I just remember thinking, this is how I'll die.
But you didn't die, so therefore you were wrong.
Yeah, and then I also remember that scene from Ghost.
You were failed, because you were wrong.
What?
You were wrong, and you didn't die.
Well,
How do you feel about being wronger?
I was 5?
And the fact that you are not 5 anymore indicates you were wrong.
Actually, it doesn't. It just indicates time has passed.
You see, guys, this is what happens when we have, like, a word. This is one of the problems with the dictionary thing. It can spark really interesting conversations. On the other hand, it can be like, oh,
interesting.
dear.
It's you just being contrary because you don't have anything else to say.
No, I was trying to point out that sometimes it can be an interesting conversation, and then sometimes it's just this.
Yeah, sometimes you're just like, aha, I know, because I don't have anything to say, I'll just be contrary. And I'll be like, well, it's been pretty cold today. No, it hasn't. No, actually it really has. No, it hasn't.
Not in Madagascar.
Yeah, and I'll be like, stop it. No one, and then, so what will usually happen, they'll say, fine, I don't care, and then just stop talking, and then she's like, anyway.
And then I cry. Because
you do not cry.
Because the last line I use in the Hagen reviews is not just a little motto type thing.
She
I
said.
have to live with it every single day.
But you're not really Diamanda Hagen in real life.
You get a break from me every so often.
Well, yeah, because I can't live my life on Skype. I have to go to work eventually. So was there anything else that you wanted to talk about?
Well, earlier today I was sitting there being all like, oh, terribly glamorous, but why was I not in Mike J's movie Nerd Quest when it suddenly came to me? I need to do Lesbian Talk tonight. We gotta think about something. So, we always end up talking about shit I like. So, how about a subject that Omega can talk about for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours?
The Franklin Expedition?
See, that was my second suggestion after Stephen King.
Oh.
But we can do Franklin Expedition next week.
Actually, if we did that, it would have to be like a super special, because I could talk for a really long time.
Well, you can do parts of it, in preparation for the Terror.
That's true. Well, that's still in production. I don't even know when that's going to be airing. It may not be for a long time.
Yeah, the Franklin Expedition is this historic tragedy of people being stupid.
Well, it wasn't so much that they were being stupid. It's just they were very much a product of the Victorian age and Victorian, especially, no offense or nothing, Victorian British hubris.
Yeah, being stupid. But we're talking about Stephen King.
We are. He has a new book out, Dr. Sleep, which is the sequel to The Shining. Now, I haven't read it, but it is a bestseller right now. You should go out to your local bookstore and pick it up. Tip your bookseller. We love that.
Sequel to The Shining.
Well, a lot of people were saying, there was a lot of buzz before it came out. Like, a lot of people were saying that it's really gonna suck, that, she shouldn't try to mess with perfection. He's just been doing short stories, for a lot of the years. He can't really get back to novels, but there's been, pretty good reviews on it, quite honestly.
Yeah, it's about something to do with the things in the Overlook weren't actually ghosts, but they were like crazy demonic vampire type things, and they're hunting Danny down, and Danny's working in a hospice, helping people die without pain and stuff, and he's an alcoholic. Am I remembering correctly?
Something like that. Like I said, I haven't read it yet. Because now that I'm back working at the bookstore, you have no idea. So every book that I see, I'm like, oh, I should buy that. I'm like, no, I can't. I'm trying to save money. I only have so much room. So I'll just write down the ISBN and then put it on my wish list for my e-reader.
For your Kindle? I
don't have a Kindle. I have the good one.
Do you have a Kindle?
No.
They're nearly the same thing.
No, they're not. They're not at all. Not even the amount of... I'm not going to finish the show if you keep being like this.
So, when it comes to Stephen King, we both know that I am not much of a reader of fiction. I have read a couple of Stephen King's books, though, many years ago. But since you're the expert and he's your favorite writer, what is your favorite Stephen King book?
That's difficult. I guess I would have to say Nightmares and Dreamscapes.
Oh, I remember the television adaptation of that. I own it on DVD.
That was actually really good.
It was well made.
Well, it was a very true adaptation, and it wasn't hokey. I think that so many people have trouble adapting Stephen King's work, and I'm really not sure.
Well, everyone who isn't... God damn it, I've forgotten his name. The guy, Frank Darabont. Anyone who's not Frank Darabont, Stephen King seems to hate anyone else adapting it.
Well, I mean, okay, the Green Mile was good. I like the Green Mile.
That was a Frank Darabont.
Let's see. I saw most of the Tommy Knockers. I was like, eh. I saw some of Cujo, and I was like, eh. But then, everything else, like all the stuff, like, we watched Salem's Lot when I was little, and I was like, really? This is so bad. And it's just, I don't know, it's like adapting Lovecraft. Very few people can do it right.
One of my favorite Stephen King adaptations is The Mist, which is another Frank Darabont. The other Stephen King big adaptation he did was The Shawshank Redemption. But The Mist was brilliant.
The TV movie version of The Stand wasn't too bad.
Which one was The Stand?
The Stand is the one where there's a super flu and most of humanity gets wiped out. I mean, it's very, very, very moralistic, because you have, like, basically, quote-unquote, the good moral guys, and then you have the bad immoral guys who are basically led by the devil. Well, a version of the devil. Not really. I mean, you can't really call Randall Flagg the devil, but, the walking man.
Oh, the guy who looks like one of the guys from Emmanuel in America.
I don't know. I've never seen Emmanuel in America.
I seem to recall, in my review of Emmanuel in America, which I've scripted but not done, I referred to the guy as Randall Flagg because you said he looked like Randall Flagg. I was hanging over yours and you looked over.
Well, the guy that played him. The made-for-TV miniseries, like I said, it wasn't all that bad. It skipped a lot. It simplified some other stuff, but then again, The Stand is a really long book.
Yeah, what's his least good book?
According to me, or according to the world? Because I can't speak for, like, critics and stuff.
According to you, I don't give a shit what the rest of the world thinks.
Well, I liked Cujo, but at the same time, I felt that... See, it's not really a problem with his book, it's a problem with how people interpret his book. Like, the thing that... Cujo was actually the second Stephen King novel that I read. The first was The Green Mile. Because I'd always written him off as, oh, he writes horror and I don't read horror, and horror can't be an actual genre, because all the horror movies I've ever heard of are bad, so... but we saw The Green Mile with Tom Hanks, and it was so good, and I was like, oh, such a good movie. And then I was in the Harrisburg train station on my way back to college, because I had to get a train out to Harrisburg, and then there was one bus that went out to the outer counties, but you had to wait like 4 hours for that. So I went into the little shop that they have there, and they had some paperbacks, because I had no books with me, and they had the movie cover for The Green Mile, and I was like, well, I really loved the movie, I bet I'll really love the book. And I read the book, and I was like, wow, I didn't know he could, one, that he could write this well, and two, that I would like it. So the second book that I read was Cujo. And I think that too often people just simplify it to Dare a dog. He bite the people. He's a bad dog. Grr.
Didn't he also have, like, rabies?
He did have rabies, but Cujo was kind of like a representation of all of the bad things that were going wrong in this town. Like, there's a subplot with the kid and his mother who trapped in the car by Cujo, with his work and the redemption of his company, and there's a whole lot of subplots. Again, it's been like 13 years at least since I've read this. But Cujo is kind of like a physical manifestation of all of those things. And it is very easy to write it off as, they're a big dog, he gon' bite you. But, you know.
Forgive me, is it possible that, or previously you would write off Stephen King and that he would be incapable of talent or subtlety or anything, but now is it possible that you're seeing subtlety where it might not be? Could it be?
Well, no, because it was the second of his books that I read. Now, to be quite honest with you, The Green Mile is not subtle. You know, John Coffey's initials are JC. He is a Christ figure. You know, he is the innocent sacrifice. You know, so it's very much a very standard trope. There's very little ambiguity at all in The Green Mile, where there is a lot of subtlety in Cujo. And that's the thing, there's always that little bit of, I call it status quo writing, because, you know, you have characters in movies and books and stuff and TV, but what makes a character real is your ability to empathize with them. And Stephen King protagonists, and even just bit characters, are always written in a way that they could be you. Or they could be the person in line behind you at 7-Eleven, you know? And it's that quality, that ness, because I don't know how else to describe it, that really weaves a lot of subtlety into his work. So said the big old literary snob just now.
Did you know that Stephen King was the basis for an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie?
I did not know that.
And it's actually one of my preferred Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, but it's one of the films that is a Stephen King in name only. It's The Running Man.
You know, I've never seen The Running Man.
It's very little to do with the actual book. The only Stephen King adaptation that has less to do with the book is probably The Lawnmower Man, which had so little to do with it that, he successfully sued to get his name removed.
Or maybe Hearts in Atlantis. Because oh my god, Hearts in Atlantis. That was an amazing book. And I didn't see the movie because I saw the trailer, I read the book, and then I read a review of how little the book was involved with the actual movie, and I was like, no. Because the really great thing about Hearts in Atlantis is there's very little supernatural stuff. There's a minor tie-in to the Dark Tower cycle, but the rest of it is about Vietnam and being an American during the Vietnam era. And it's fantastic. And you should definitely read Hearts in Atlantis, said Omega.
I know nothing about Hearts in Atlantis, the book or the film or anything like that, so I can't comment, but I can give you the information on the Lawnmower Man. I know about it.
Mm. I mentioned it because as far as I know, his name was not associated with Hearts in Atlantis at all.
Ah, okay. Well, in the Lawnmower Man, the original story was about this guy who basically employed a fawn to eat people's grass, mm-hmm. and he was the lawnmower. He would do this at night, and therefore people's lawns would get cut. Now, the Lawnmower Man film is about. Okay, the Lawnmower Man book is about this guy who uses a fawn or the god Pan or something to cut people's lawns when no one's looking. It's a short story, that's what it's about. Then there's the Lawnmower Man film, which is about a mentally disadvantaged guy, played by Jeff Fahey, who's got an IQ of about 65, is turned into an evil super genius who wants to be God via playing computer games and VR simulation.
Because that's how computers work.
Yeah, and and this was being publicized as Stephen King's The Lawnmower Man, and Stephen King was like, this has literally nothing to do with my work except for the name of the film. Take my name off it. And he won.
Well, good for him.
Yeah.
I would love to meet him. I know he's fantastically reclusive, but another reason that Stephen King is awesome is because, a few years ago, he used to write a column for Entertainment Weekly. And he doesn't do it anymore, unfortunately, because he had other stuff to do. But in one of his columns, he said, booksellers are really great people, and you should always listen to what they have to say. And I was like, oh, in love. As he was talking about how he was doing a book signing, and a bookseller kind of sidled on up to him and said, Psst, Mr. King, we got in a galley. A galley is also called an unproofed copy, just an advanced reader edition that publishing houses will send to us, so in the hopes that we read it, like it, and will, want to sell it to our customers. So he said, I got this galley. It's great. I think you'll love it. You can have it. It was on the, on the back room table. So he took the book home and he read it, and it was by a young author who, this was her first novel. She'd never been published before. And he said, this book is really, really great. I think it's very well written. I think it's really going to shake some stuff up. And I encourage everyone to read it. And I think that she's going to go far. And that book was The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. And, of course, it did go far. And it did become a huge, huge thing in the movies and everything. So
The Hunger Games, a.k.a. Battle Royale, but not.
Well, I mean, I'll confess, I haven't read the trilogy. A lot of my fellow booksellers have. Apparently it's very well written, and you know what? I have no problem with that. The problem I had with Twilight is that it was poorly written. But by all accounts, Suzanne Collins is a very good writer. And that's cool, I mean, yes, it's a story that's been told before, battle to the death kind of thing by children, but, good for her. And good for Stephen King for saying, first of all, saying good things about booksellers, and second of all, saying, this is really cool, and I like it, and I'm going to talk about it and give this person some press.
Well, my knee-jerk sort of dislike, I've never read it, never seen the thing, it's just simply because this now Battle Royale is going to get tarred by stupid people as like a takeoff of the Hunger Games, and it bothers me.
Yeah, honey, but stupid people are going to be stupid like that regardless. Like, there are people who come in for stuff that are derivations of, Shakespeare plots. And, again, Shakespeare's plots weren't original back when he wrote them, because a lot of them had already been done as, Greek comedies and tragedies. So there aren't that many original ideas left anymore. It's basically how you put your spin on it. And she put it on in a unique way, and you gotta give her props for it,
Yeah, I know. I'm just sort of being childish, and I perfectly admit this, because I would love to do a live-action adaptation of Battle Royale. I'm not talking about a remake of the film. I'm actually talking about a different adaptation of the book.
Oh.
Because that is another novel I have in fact read.
You've read fiction? How can this be?
I don't often read fiction. Not often at all. It's quite weird. I find it mildly distressing to read fiction. Not on an emotional level. I just find it difficult, and I would much rather stick to fact-based stuff. But occasionally I push myself through, and I manage to read fiction.
Okay. Well, I'll give you some time to reflect on that, because it's time for our music break. Wah. And we have new music today. Who are we playing?
Tar.
Tar.
Yeah, this is actually came in from a listener, and they sent this in. They're a young guy. They, with a couple other guys, have done a couple of little tracks, and they asked us to play the song Battleground. And do you have the details?
This is from Tar Records. It's off of an album called UFO, and the song's called Battleground, and it is credited to someone who is signed with Tar Records, who is 196 Slayer, and you can actually find him on YouTube. I know that because I found him.
Yeah, and these guys, they seem to be like they're just starting out, and they're trying to do sort of online music and stuff like that, which is very, very cool. And this is our first piece of dance music on the show.
It's right. It's obligatory.
It's more of a chilled type dance music.
Oh. And so we're using the cover art that they sent us. I've looked around and I don't think there's any. Let me restart that. And they sent us cover art, which is where we got the image. So if you like them, you should totally check out 196 Slayer on YouTube.
And if you want to be snarky about the cover art, then feel free. Though I would just say that they put all of their effort into the song, and that's where it counts. Yeah,
I don't see you guys making music, except for our listeners who do. So
yeah.
And actually, if you make your own music, if you're part of a band and you want your stuff promo, just send it to us. Tell us who to credit. Send us some album art, and
And we don't have And we don't have the time or capabilities to make sure that, this is an original track by you. So theoretically, if you felt like it, you could completely punk us by sending us something that someone else did and saying that you did it. Unless it's famous enough that we came across it, we would never know.
Probably not do that, because that would really suck for everyone involved.
Well, I'm not saying that they should do that. I'm saying theoretically they could if they felt like it.
Okay, so we'll see you in a bit, everybody.
You see, that was fairly dancey, wasn't it?
Dance, dance,
with almost no unsa.
Oh. Well,
so,
I danced.
So, now, depending on whether we actually listen to the track or not, you can laugh at us or not about that. Because maybe I'm lying. Maybe it was actually Oh, okay.
I listened to it and I danced the whole time. God damn it.
Okay.
Yeah. I danced alone in my room like no one was watching. Because nobody was. So,
but anyway.
Time for the best part of the show, according to him. It's Giovanni's Trivia Fact. Giovanni, are you with us today?
Yeah, boss, I'm right here. I didn't want to interrupt you before, but, I saw you dancing. Just gotta say.
So,
At least she can dance, unlike you, Lobster.
Are you kidding? Have you seen the number of legs I possess?
Yes, I have also seen the lack of quality you have in the legs.
I'm like the crustacean lord of the dance. Just saying.
And when you weren't looking last year, I ate several of your legs, and then I made you unconscious while they grew back.
Why'd you even talk?
Why?
Yeah.
To communicate ideas, mostly.
So, anyway, today's trivia fact is a gay trivia fact. Because, to go with the theme, lesbians, gay. Anyway, did you know the Village Voice, today a gay equality champion run by a lot of gays, took an anti-gay stance in covering the Stonewall riots? It's true. Angry protesters threatened to burn their headquarters down because of it.
Damn right.
Yeah. So that just shows what happens when you mess with gays. Alright, anyway, my ignorant public, I'm out of here before Hagen tries to impugn me any further. I'll see everybody next week.
You're so, you'll be nice to him one week, and then you just, be, totally horrible to him.
Yeah, that's, this is keeping him on edge. What's the psychological trick in order to make people do what you want by being horrible to them randomly? That's what I'm trying.
What?
There's the psychological trick where you can condition things by being horrible to them or being nice to them at random so they never know whether they're going to be punished or not.
Oh, yeah. You do that with rats. It's I think it's unconditional reward.
So
where they never know what's going to happen and it makes them psychotic.
So I'm totally doing that to Giovanni.
You need to learn to love my lobster.
Mm-hmm. You ever notice that we could totally be having some sort of a vicarious, marriage feud through my horrible comments to your lobster?
I never thought about it that way before. Why can't you love my lobster? We had to get a divorce. But anyway, now it's time for the other high point of the show, if you listen to everybody that's not us. One time at the store.
No one loves my parts of the show.
What parts of the show are yours?
Parts where I'm talking.
You see what I did there?
You laughed cruelly.
Mm-hmm.
But Giovanni was talking about Stonewall. There's a lot of myths about Stonewall, a lot of things that people don't realize, but how almost everyone involved in the actual riot to begin with were lesbians, drag queens, and transsexuals. And the fact that Stonewall and how most of them were Latino or black, and how Stonewall itself, it's almost been claimed by just white, cisexual gay guys, straight acting gay guys. Like, I don't know what it is in America, but over in the UK, the biggest gay equality organization, Stonewall, it's called Stonewall, and it is very, very, it's quite honestly shitty. It had to be dragged kicking and screaming into supporting gay marriage.
Really?
Yeah. And it gave out awards to people who were like transphobic and stuff. The British, gay equality organization Stonewall is an insult to the name.
I'm sorry. Well, one thing about everybody who was in the Stonewall riots, right?
They were in New York that night.
Well, they're old now.
Or they're dead.
That's true.
I know the person who allegedly is one of the people who allegedly threw the first punch. There's several people who may or may not be. It's Sylvia Riviera. I know she's dead. She became quite famous in the early days of post Stonewall, but then when the 70s came around, and then you had the guys the straight acting gay guys who basically wanted to be respectable and stuff like that. They basically threw her off to the side, and she was banned from speaking at pride events and stuff because being trans, she was too embarrassing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm saying sorry to me. She's been dead for years.
Well, no, I'm sorry that she's dead and that people were shitty to her.
No, it's the whenever you got a minority that gets shat on, the ones who are going to most likely to fight back for the minorities' rights are going to be the ones who are the ones who get shit on most by society. So they're going to be the ones with the least to lose. So in the case of LGBT things, that was the drag queens, that was the trans, that was the butch lesbians. However, those ones, because they go against the norms, in the years afterwards, they're going to get basically ostracized because that they're seen as a hindrance suddenly, even though they usually kick the spark that starts a movement. And it's just a really pathetic bit of human character, really. You need the extremes in order to get stuff going, but then you pull the ladder up behind you and leave the extremes getting shat on, even though they're partially responsible for you getting your rights.
I have constitutional rights. I didn't do it.
I'm not blaming you for anything. I'm just, if you're gonna point out any sort of group that I'm blaming for this shit, when it comes to LGBT things, honestly, it's white, cisexual, gay men who are straight acting generally. But obviously, and even that, it's not all of them's fault. It's some of them, and it's like a cultural thing. If anything, you'd be one of the minorities within the minorities here because you're a butch lesbian, honey.
Just so long as it's not my fault.
No, it's not your fault. It's no one's fault.
I was a kid in school, and they were like, everything was fine, and then here come white people, killing American Indians and bringing on slavery to the New World and kidnapping people out their homes and villages to be slaves. And I was like, oh, I did it? And they were like, oh, yes, white people did all this. And I was like, oh, God, I didn't. Nobody told me. And I was like 5.
Well, in this case, you have nothing that you did wrong.
Okay.
There are lesbians who do cause this sort of, cause hurt in this way, but most definitely it's not you.
Okay.
The ones I can think of that are the TERFs, trans-exclusionary radical feminists, who are absolutely warped group of individuals. But I am sure I can talk about that in another episode.
That would be a good topic of discussion for a whole episode.
Unfortunately, it would most likely get us threatened with suing.
Well, who sue us, Blip?
No. Some of the people in that group are very, very happy.
Oh. I can talk to my lawyer, who's also my lobster.
But yeah, there are shitheads in every single group of people, but you are not one of them.
Okay. Can I tell my story at the store now?
Yes.
Okay. So, anyway, my story from the store. If you're just tuning in, I've been working at a large chain bookstore for nearly 10 years now, and I've seen pretty much all. And sometimes it's funny, and sometimes it's horrible, and this is one example of that. So, I'm sure everyone's probably aware by now about this product called Elf on the Shelf. And
if you're not, then why haven't you been watching Omega's videos?
Well, that was a long time ago that one came out. I don't really spread it around too much because I don't think it came out as I envisioned it, but whatever. I really wish I'd done it without the mask, because now I can't share it outside the reviewerverse, otherwise everyone's like, are you trying to make some kind of Abu Ghraib joke? Why are they wearing masks? And I'm like, never mind.
Well, you could remake it without the masks.
Yeah, but then I have to buy another Elf on the Shelf, and it's like $25.
I'll buy you an Elf on the Shelf when I come over at Christmas.
Okay. Yeah, but then by the time I get it out, it'll be after Christmas. It won't be topical anymore.
Yeah, so you can hold on to it.
But anyway.
Or you could film it another time of year. You could call it a birthday Elf on the Shelf.
Actually, that just came out on Tuesday.
See?
The birthday elf. Well, no, because now you're supposed to get him. He comes in a little cupcake outfit for your birthday because Santa gave him permission. It's convoluted, but the way that this is supposed to work is you put this little guy on your shelf, and you take him out either right after Thanksgiving or 1st of December, and you tell your children, this is your personal elf. It was assigned to you by Santa. Every night he goes back to the North Pole and reports on your behavior. And apparently mothers are just loving this because it's an incredible incentive for children to behave during the holidays. Like, they're using this literally as like a little, for want of a better term, paranoia agent. And I think it's horrible, quite honestly, because it teaches children the wrong lesson. It doesn't teach them that you should be good, because you'll get presents. I mean, it kind of does, but it also doesn't. It doesn't teach you should be good if your parents ask you to. It teaches them you can be bad as long as no one's looking.
Yeah, can't they do bad things when they're out of the eye line of the elf?
That would be my thought. It's like a CCTV camera. If the elf didn't see it, it didn't happen. Santa doesn't know about it.
You could turn the elf to face the other way.
Right. Well, no, you're not. The child can't touch the elf, otherwise then, quote unquote, he loses his magic.
It does seem rather dodgy.
Yeah. So, but anyways, we have these Elf on the Shelf, and we have them. They come in. You can get a boy and a girl now. It used to be just the boy, but they also have a darker skin tone. Because, not every child in the world is white. So last night, I was at work, and I was helping these two women, and this one woman, she was a trip. She was like, a friend of mine got a book here called Q&A a Day, and I want to get that book. And there was no title. There was no such thing that I could find. The closest thing that I could find was a couple's journal called Q&A a Day, a story of two people in 3 years. It was like a 3-year thing that you had to answer questions. And she's like, no, that's not it, no. Nothing that even remotely close came up in our trivia section. Just nothing that I could find. She's like, no, that's not it, no. To everything that I found. And she was the kind of woman that sometimes with customers you can tell, like, they're going to get offended if you suggest that maybe they don't have the title correctly. So I said, is it possible maybe your friend got the title wrong when she told you? She goes, no, she definitely bought it at this store right here a few days ago. And I said, oh, well, if you could get me more information, I'll find it. She goes, well, where would that be? Where's that other journal? So maybe I can take a gander. She said take a gander as though it was, 1953. So I'm like, oh, it's over here. I'll take you over. And so I had to walk past the huge Elf on the Shelf display. And her friend Rove was like, oh my gosh, look at this. And the guy's like, hey, yeah, I've heard about that. Yeah, it's like a really big thing. And then she goes, I don't know why they have a black one, though. Why would there be a black one? That's so weird. And I was like, but I took them over to gift and left them there. And so I told everyone that night, I've had my first racist Elf on the Shelf comment. Yay. It must be the holidays now.
Well, if you wanted to be truly nerdy, you could have replied with, well, that one's a drow.
I know, right? Actually, somebody at I can't remember who it was now. It might have been Richard, but I can't remember if it was when I was at Pikesville. When I was down there at that store, he made a drow joke because he's awesome about it like that. That's the guy that he loves Doctor Who.
Quite weirdly, the elf probably does make the kids sort of behave better, and it's not just because they're being watched. Although it is, but it's not just because they want to get presents. They've done a couple of psychological experiments on just regular people, and just the presence of things that look like eyes can make people more honest. Like, the experiment was done, if I remember correctly, there was this thing where you could take something and then you could give money for it, but you were not being forced to. And if you put eyes, picture of an eye right beside where people were supposed to put the money, then more people gave money. It was just the
psychological suggestion that.
Yeah, so it might work, just not quite for the same reason that they're expecting, though.
I still think it's a terrible thing to do to a child because I don't know. if I've told this story on Lesbian Talk before, but when I was a little kid, I went to public school, and, you know, I would only eat really about half my lunch. I wouldn't eat the crusts because I didn't like wheat bread, you know. And one day my dad says to me, "You eat your lunch at school, right?" I said, "Yeah, of course I do," I said, lying through my teeth. And he said, "That's good, because there are people at school that we've paid to watch you." And I was in first grade. And, I mean, that seemed feasible to me because, you know, my parents were always telling me, you know, if you do something bad, you know, with the babysitter, they report back to us. The camp counselors report back to us. Everyone's reporting back to us. So it seemed like all adults were always monitoring you at all times, and information was being funneled back to your parents constantly. So that made sense. But the thing is, it also made me really, really paranoid because I didn't know who these watchers were, you know, when they were watching me, you know, at what points. So what I would do is there was a girl in my class, and I actually still have her on Facebook, as a matter of fact, who if I had it, I would give her a nickel if she would take my trash to the trash can with hers. And, or sometimes, like, you know, if she wasn't there, she'd already taken her trash before I remembered. I remember once, I went past the trash can, because there were these 3 big, huge trash cans at the end of the hall where the cafeteria was. And I actually said out loud and pointed at the ground, "Look, a penny!" And then threw it in real quick, and then it's like, oh, it's not a penny. Like, to distract, you know, my watchers. And then one time, because the bathroom was right down the hallway at where the trash cans were, I bent over the trash can and said out loud, "Oh no, I'm going to be sick." And then when I was bent over the trash can, I threw out the bag with the remains of my lunch, and then I straightened back up against it. "Oh, okay, I guess I'm not." and then I still, you know, even though I didn't engage in outright trickery, you know, in elementary school, by the time I got to 6th grade, I realized that it wouldn't be economically feasible for my parents to still be paying someone to provide this information. I was like, Mom said we have to watch money this year, so I don't think that they'll be paying somebody. Maybe they've stopped doing that. That doesn't seem like an effective use of resources. And so years later, I told my parents about this. And my mom said, "I can't believe you did that." My dad, he's like, "I didn't think she'd believe me." And I said, "You are both psychologists. How could you not? Why would you think that I would not immediately believe you?" And he's like, "I don't know." My parents definitely did make me paranoid.
Although you think about the horribleness of, you know, a child feeling like they're constantly being watched and judged by some sort of a character, and how terrible and damaging that is to a child. You know, I hate to be, you know, one of the uber atheists, but yeah, I know, right? That's really a bad thing to tell children, isn't it?
God might smite you. Well, no, but because if you want to take the intended Christian message, if you're talking about the New Testament God, it's God sees everything you do, but he gives you free will to do it, and if you do something wrong and you admit it, he forgives you. Because he's not into smiting anymore. He's so God over smiting. That's how the message is supposed to be. How it's portrayed, you know, depends family by family, really.
Well, we have. I think it would take a hell of a long time for us to discuss and debate that particular thing.
Yeah. So let's talk about something less controversial: gay marriage. Woo! Now, at the time of this recording, New Jersey just got it this weekend, Monday really, and I know that it's on the docket today for the New Mexico Supreme Court to discuss.
And they're up to, because of New Jersey, you're up to like 33% of Americans live in states with gay marriage?
Mm-hmm. 13 states in the District of Columbia. Oh, wait, it may be 14 in the district.
I think it's 14. I think it's 14.
14 states in the District of Columbia, which comes out to be a little over of a third of the U.S. population lives in a state or territory that allows gay marriage. And
although, to be fair, New York and California are like half America by themselves.
Yeah, that's true. But, you know, any port in a storm.
Yeah.
But also, a special legislative meeting or session is going to be held on the 28th in Hawaii, and that's at the direction of their governor. Now, Hawaii has a Democratic supermajority, so basically all they'd have to do is just bring up the law and pass it. So we might get Hawaii by the end of the month too. We'll get it back, really.
Yeah, because that's where it's kicked off back in 2000 or 1996 or something.
It was way back in the day. Because remember there being there was a big to-do about it.
Yeah. It'd be lovely to get Hawaii back.
And then Illinois, the measure passed in the Senate, but it's been delayed on the House floor because they're not sure they can get the votes. But there was just a marriage march yesterday in Illinois, and I think that might be coming to a head sometime soon.
Yeah, it's happening much quicker. Gay equality is happening in America much quicker than racial equality, and I hate to be the person to mention why this is. I think it is anyway. Because in America, statistically speaking, most people who have power and influence are white men, and some of those white men, well, more of those white men are likely to be gay than black. That's why I think it took a lot less time for gay marriage to get through than,
Honey,
say,
I think
racial
any
stuff.
white man is unlikely to be black.
Yes, I know, that's my point.
Oh, okay.
Because the rich, influential white people didn't really have much to gain from racial equality, racial issues. However, gay marriage, one of them, some of them are likely to be gay, probably about 3%, 4%, 5%. And then on top of that, they're going to have family members too. They are going to be more sympathetic to gay people than black people. And it's mostly, I think, down to the fact that some people especially, incapable of empathizing with people who they are not directly connected to.
Oh yeah, that's pretty much like a known fact. You know, like a lot of people are like, well, my opinion on gay marriage evolved when I found out my son is gay. You know.
And it's nice that people, they change. However, on one level, people like that really do bother me because I'd rather they not be a hypocrite. It's like you needed to have a family member in order to learn that. That doesn't really paint you in a very good light.
Well, honey, there are bad people in the world. I think
I know. I'd be more impressed with their integrity if they were like, yeah, I got gay family members, I don't give a shit. But I'm glad that they did change. I'm just not impressed with them as people.
That's a fair enough point.
On that subject. They could be wonderful in every other way.
And, well, there is a couple that, one half of the couple is Native American, and they are going to be married on tribal land in Oklahoma because the tribal territory, in the tribal territory, state laws don't apply. So the tribe has said, yeah, sure, it's $20 though. And they were like, that's cool.
Oh, so Sharkwin and Robert Million are finally getting married?
No, but there's a whole bunch of tribes that have said, yeah, we've got no problem with that. If you want to get married, you can come on our territory. We'll marry you.
Which is very good, considering Native American, at least several tribes, not all, but several tribes were very, very, what we would call gay-friendly before stupid white people fucked shit up, yo.
Well, yeah, I remember doing a report about a specific Native American tribe, and I can't remember which. This was like for elementary school, and being at the library and reading, probably an adult-level history book that, really didn't have any of the facts I needed. But goddammit, I photocopied half the book anyway for use at home. But, and it had a bit about this one tribe and how they really revered people who were homosexual. Like, they said they had, like, two spirits and stuff like that. And transgender people were, shamans and stuff like that.
Having trans people being shaman was quite common, not just in Native American areas. It was quite common in tribal Europe as well, and slightly more recently over in Siberia.
Oh yeah, those women, I read about that.
Yeah,
they basically say they're going to be virgins for the rest of their life and pledge their life to taking care of their family, and then they get to dress as men and vote as men and like be counted as men, where before they wouldn't have had pretty much any rights or fun or anything.
Oh yeah, that was Albania, I think.
Oh.
I think that's sort of dying out as women are getting actual equality there.
Oh.
But there are other groups, like in ancient Rome and ancient Greece, there were particular cults of different gods, so the priests and priestesses would sometimes be trans. There was the priests of one type of god, one goddess, I can't remember which it was, but they would be castrated and they would basically live as women. There's the Hijra of India.
So things seem to be pretty much fine until the Judeo-Christian people kind of fucked it up. But that's pretty general.
And the Hijra, who are the traditional name for trans people in India, they are mentioned in the Kama Sutra. The Kama Sutra predates Christianity, so trans people have been around and actually had a name in the world since before Christ was born. So I think they win.
But I'm very hopeful that as as one by one things come to a head on local and state Supreme Court level, things will happen. Like the guy and his husband who they got married. I forget what state they actually got married in, but they sued the state to have him recognized as his husband because the one partner was dying from ALS, arterial lateral sclerosis, Lou Gehrig's disease, and they wanted him to be listed as his husband on his birth certificate, or his death certificate, I mean. And the Ohio judge ruled for them. He ruled in their favor. There was one hate group, I think, that was going to try to appeal that, but either the state decided not to appeal it and they were the only ones that could, or the judge said he wouldn't rule further on it. Something happened that it ended up sticking, and he actually did pass away this week, so good for him, but rest in peace at the same time.
You ever notice that most groups which have the word family in the title tend to hate your family?
No.
Well, American Family Association, all those ones, they tend to be very hateful of families that are different from their own. It's like it's like groups that have the word liberty in their title. Usually they're wanting to remove other people's liberty.
Not the Liberty Bells.
I'm talking about political action.
I know.
Group. Yeah, it's like pro-life groups. They call themselves pro-life, but when was the last time that a pro-choice person went over and shot someone for not getting an abortion?
Even worse if it was a guy.
I just think there's it's I don't know if it's quite classic Orwellian doublethink that some groups do, or they're just really good at sort of framing things to make themselves look good, but a lot of those groups are complete assholes.
Well, it makes me tired. I mean, I was kind of pissed off when the federal ruling came down because I really did want something sweeping and changing. And I know there's like 20-some states right now that there's lawsuits pending, but it's just we're going to end up with a divided America. Like Pennsylvania right now is kind of the only state in the Northeast now. But now that New Jersey's got it, that does not have same-sex marriage. And
your governor is a complete embarrassment to not just Pennsylvania, but the entire human race.
I hate Corbett. He's terrible. I mean, if Rendell was still in office, he wouldn't do that.
And sorry, I apologize. He is not an embarrassment to the entire human race. He is an embarrassment to everything with interior skeletons. Well,
quite honestly, the two state legislatures who have authored and are sponsoring the same-sex marriage bill in Pennsylvania have called on him to follow Governor Christie's example, even though, I don't really think Governor Christie did it out of the kindness of his heart, but...
Governor Christie, he's walking a tightrope of trying to appear as crazy motherfucker as he can, while also appearing as moderate as he can, because he realizes there is no chance in hell of him getting the presidential nomination in 2016 without being a crazy conservative motherfucker. But he also realizes there's no chance of him winning in 2016 the general election unless he's also moderate. So he basically got to a point where he can claim, they tied my hands, I couldn't do anything else about it, anything else would be a waste of taxpayer money, I'm a fiscal conservative.
Right, he was probably dancing when he heard about that ruling. Because then he could be like, the judiciary branch, what could I do? It basically threw the issue off of him completely.
Yeah. Christie is a complete asshole. He's better than most people with a R beside their name in American politics right now, but he's not a good guy.
Well, there's that one judge, Carlos Key, in Texas, who was so angry with the Tea Party that he's seeking re-election as judge, as a Democrat. He made a YouTube video about it, and I saw it on the internet, so I tweeted at him, and I said, good for you. I'm not in Texas, so I can't vote for you, but I hope you get re-elected.
There's Alan Grayson has pointed out the supreme lack of popularity that the Tea Party have right now is actually roughly equivalent to how popular the Ku Klux Klan are. And so he started making videos comparing the Klan directly to the Tea Party. It's like, picture of a burning cross, now you know what the T stands for. Mm-hmm. And then the right-wingers were complaining about it. How dare you compare us to a bunch of, irrational, crazy religious hate-mongers? And he's like, if the hood fits, wear it.
Oh yeah, I read about that. It's on Joe My God today.
I really love Alan Grayson. The guy, he's got the mouth of a Republican, but he's got the ethics of a liberal.
Yay.
that mix is not often there. Usually you've got, Democrats have got the ethics of a liberal, but they've got the mouth of, I don't know, a small, recently deceased sheep. As in, they don't need to roll over. You can just walk on them and they're not going to complain.
Mm. Well, but Democrats didn't roll over with the shutdown.
Yeah, they didn't. That's one of the more interesting and unusual things about it. Although if you notice, there was like tweets and interviews and stuff done with some of Harry Reid's people, which are, if you read between the lines, it indicates that Reid is pissed off with Obama because Obama keeps giving up easily. And,
well, he didn't this time.
Yeah, but with the same reading between the lines, which could be inaccurate, I admit, but it seems to indicate that basically Obama was strong-armed by the Democrats in the Senate.
That's fine. Yeah. I'm fine with that. Anything to keep those assholes from getting their way again. You cannot bitch and piss and whine and moan and use the entire country to get your way on something that nobody wants you to get your way on.
Yeah,
That's not how it works.
I'm personally hoping that if that is the case, that Obama was strong-armed by the Democrats, I'm really hoping that they will continue doing that because I am singularly mostly unimpressed with Obama.
I know. But inasmuch as we've reached our time limit, that is a talk for another day.
Da-da-da-da.
So I have the dictionary. What page should I turn to?
122.
Okay.
Now remember, everyone, if you have angry comments to make about the video, you can send them to thegeekomega@gmail.com.
Don't put my email. Okay.
You can send them to wedon'tgivemuchofacrap.com.
1 or 2?
But we do give a crap. 1 or 2? 2.
Okay.
Did you know, honey, there was a minor controversy caused in the early days of Tigwatig when someone did a joke saying that if you have problems with my episode here, you can send your complaints to, and then gave out Linkara's real email?
I heard about that, yeah.
Apparently he received a lot of choice emails, and apparently also so did members of his family, because they had similar emails.
Oh. So out of 18?
15.
Collier, a coal miner, a ship that carries coal as its cargo, chiefly British. It can also mean, with that spelling, the actual chute that the coal was dropped down when it was sorted with slate.
You could talk about...
As in the colliery.
You could talk about zombies in a coal mine.
We could. All that and more next time on Lesbian Talk.
Hopefully we will continue to talk, because otherwise the podcast will have to be renamed.
Well...
Lesbians go, because our tongues are cut out.
Or just why do you even think of these scenarios? Anyway, I've been the Omega. Who have you been today?
I have been exciting under the sheets.
That'll work.